Oh, hey there, fans. Welcome to my latest series in the Stuffy universe. It's going to be a cooking show, so I need your help in the comments below to decide what to call it. Stuffing with Stuffy, stirring with Stuffy, simmering with Stuffy. Possibilities are endless. And today, we're going to be working on a special recipe for the King's birthday. That's right, it's January 8th and it's Elvis's birthday. And we're not going to be caught in a trap. We're going to be using a waffle iron. But before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Yes, I am wearing a Swatch watch, but it's not like any Swatch watch. This is a Swatch watch irony. It's actually a stainless steel, which is ironic. It's also a chronograph, leather band. It is a quartz timepiece, but it is still Swiss made, and I love it. Also, I'm sporting a Burberry of London sport coat, because why not? Why not cook in the kitchen with your finest Burberry sport coat? Anything else would be uncivilized. You can also see in the background my lovely deluxe $5 wine collection. And we want to thank our sponsor, Tug and Smokes Barbecue. So Tug and Smokes is soon to be opening in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, and they have a deluxe line of barbecue products. This is Tug and Smokes Sweet Heat. It is made from only the finest tomatoes. Most barbecue sauces, they start with a high fructose corn syrup. Garbage! Tug and Smokes starts with the finest quality ingredients, such as San Marzano tomatoes, which are grown in the volcanic soils of Mount Vesuvius. And they continue from there. See the beautiful hues? That is from the Carolina Reaper pepper that you find in every jar of Tug and Smokes. So get Tug and Smokes coming to you soon at your favorite grocery store. Okay, now let's get to the kitchen. Hey there, fans. We're back in the kitchen. Like I said, we're going to honor the king. It is Elvis's birthday, and we are going to make some peanut butter and banana waffles. Okay, now my waffle recipe isn't super complex, but I think there's a few techniques that I do that really make them turn out great, and we're going to get started. What also is so great about this recipe is that it's easily doubled, tripled, if you're serving more people. I'm going to make just a single batch. So I'm going to start with 2 cups of flour. Now again, the first technique that I think is very important is that I'm going to sift the flour. So I've got a good sifter with me. This is going to be my dry ingredient bowl. So I'm going to take just some all-purpose flour. Again, 2 cups. I'm going to start with the first cup. Now what's very nice about measuring is you can overfill, then take a nice straight knife and just clean it off so you get a perfect, just kind of back it up, clean it off so I have a nice straight edge and get an accurate measurement. So that's my first cup, and we'll repeat that, and like I said, I'm going to sift it not once but twice. So we're going to sift it once, then once the other dry ingredients are in, we're going to sift a second time. Not only help blend them together, but it just does such a good job of, I don't know if you saw the difference, but the flour is so much smoother, gets rid of any chunks, because you don't want to over mix your waffles, so this actually helps avoid any clumps. So let's go in for our second cup of flour, then we will sift that as well and get it all mixed in. Very nice. Okay, that is the sound of my waffle iron. I have a Cuisinart Belgian waffle maker. It is heated up to temperature over there. That's going to be a little bit later when we do the cooking part of it. Okay, so my second cup is sifted, and we're going to move on to the next ingredient. Okay, for our next ingredient, I'm just going to use some basic sugar. The last time I did this, I did use a sugar in the raw, like a pure cane sugar, and actually had a hard time sifting through, so I'm going to go with just basic white sugar. And actually I only went with 2 tablespoons last time, and again the bigger 1 tablespoon. I'm going to try 3, and again any of these numbers you could just double the batch. So we're going to go with 3 on the sugar. I want it a little bit sweeter because we're making breakfast fit for the king. Okay, so we got our sugar in there. Okay, and our next ingredient. Now I've seen a lot of recipes that do one or the other. You definitely need the leavener, but I go with a little bit of baking powder and a little bit of baking soda. I've seen it one or the other. Again, I like both. I've been in arguments with people, but I'm going to go with 1 teaspoon of each. So that's the little bit smaller one, not the tablespoon, but the teaspoon. And again, if you're just making a bigger batch, just go larger, or and you can double it. But we're just going to do 1 of each. So that's our baking powder. And we're going to do our baking soda. Okay, so now I'm also going to be using salted butter, so you don't really have to do this step. But I'm going to do probably like a half a teaspoon of salt. It's not really a big deal. I don't think it'll over salt it with the salted butter, but I could probably skip it all together because I'm going to do the salted butter. I'm not really fully measuring it. I don't have my half teaspoon with me, so just a little bit of kosher salt. Okay, so that's it. That's it for the dry ingredients. So all I'm going to do now is take my 1 cup scoop and just filter it back through the sifter. It'll help all the ingredients introduce themselves. I'll just take a quick blend with my spatula, and again, just sift all those ingredients back through into this other bowl, which will eventually become, we'll use the other bowl for the wet bowl, 1 dry bowl, but they'll all get blended together in the end, so it really doesn't matter. But this just really helps introduce all the ingredients, make sure they're blended and super smooth. Especially the flour, gets rid of any clumps, gets everything melded together, and we get it all out of there, and then we can start on our wet ingredients. So I won't sit here and make you watch me sift. I'll bring you back in when we're ready to prep the wet ingredients. Okay, for our wet ingredients, we're going to start with 2 cups of buttermilk. I did get whole buttermilk. You can alter it. You could use whole milk. You could use skim milk to be a little bit healthier. You could make your own buttermilk. Don't be alarmed, the first time I bought buttermilk I was thrown off that it's a little chunky. Freaked me out a little bit. So we're going to have the 2 cups of buttermilk. We're going to use 2 eggs. Now here's the other, so much like the sifting with the dry ingredient, here's where I think the technique comes in. I'm going to separate my eggs. And mix the yolks in with the buttermilk, and then we're going to do something with the egg whites later that I will show you. Now your butter, I did again real butter. I bought half sticks, so I did 1/2 stick, which is 1/4 of a cup. Again, it's salted. You could probably go up to 1/3 of a cup, but I did already add the salt, so I'm going to go with the half stick. I melted it, but I want to also let it cool, because it can kind of curdle the ingredients. Even though we are already using buttermilk, we can get some additional curdling, and I just want to avoid that, so I'm letting it dry. Also, I love vanilla. I put it in my pancakes, a lot of other things. So we are going to go with 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Again, I'm using Spice Island. If I had whole vanilla bean, I would love to press some fresh vanilla bean into this. I think that would be amazing, but I just have this right now. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon into the buttermilk, and then I'm going to separate my eggs, and then I'll take you over and show you what I'm going to do with the egg whites. So let me get the yolks into the main bowl and separate the whites. So I'm putting the egg white into a separate dish, and we're going to bring our yolks over to the main bowl. And again, I'm doing 2 eggs. If you're making a larger batch, just double everything. 4 eggs, 4 cups of flour. It's a very simple recipe, easy to increase, and there you go. Separated out my egg whites. My yolks are into the batch. I've mentioned it several times, but we do not want to over stir anything. So I'm using a spatula, not whisking too hard. I just want to kind of work the egg yolk and the vanilla in, making sure to break up the yolk. I'll add the melted butter in last. So I'm just slowly stirring. I don't want to put a lot of air or overwork my ingredients, especially once you add the flour. It can get really tough if you overbeat it or get a lot of air in there. So I'm just working everything in, and I'll bring you back in just a second for the egg whites. I got to change camera angles because we are going to use a mixer for the next step. So stay tuned. Okay, so for this part we are going to mix. You could do it by hand, but it takes a little bit longer. I have this nice Hamilton Beach multi-tool. It can do mixing. It's got a whisk attachment. It's got a attachment for putting in sauce, so you can blend right while you're making sauce. So that's right. You know what this mixer means? We're going to make some stiff peaks. So we want to whip our egg whites until we get some nice stiff peaks. So here we go. Okay, I think we have pretty good consistency. It's nice and whipped. I'm getting my peaks forming. I might whip it a little bit longer, but again, you don't want to watch 5 minutes of egg whites being whipped. So I'll bring you back to the other angle once I'm fully ready, and we'll start combining the dry and the wet ingredients. Okay, so just to recap, so the techniques that I think are most crucial, again, are whipping our egg whites, separating them, yolks in the wet ingredients, sifting our flour, and doing the baking powder and the baking soda. I think those are the 3 techniques that are the best for this recipe. So again, I have my buttermilk, egg yolk, and vanilla. I could have probably put the sugar in the egg whites too and whipped it, but then I'd almost be making a meringue. And I'm going going to start adding my dry as I stir with my spatula. Again, I don't want to overmix, but I do want to make sure all the ingredients are melded together. And just keep kind of folding the ingredients in, not overworking them, not over mixing them. And we will get all the clumps out, don't worry. And then we'll be ready to go over to our waffle iron. Now, a couple things I'm thinking of trying. I don't want to do it to the whole batch in case it doesn't work, but I'm going to try one of the waffles with peanut butter in the batter in honor of Elvis. And then if that doesn't work, we'll just do peanut butter on the exterior as a topping. But I'm hoping to infuse some peanut butter into the actual batter, so we'll see. Okay, I'm going to fold in my whipped egg white. You see how nice and fluffy that is. I'm going to work that in. And then last step, we'll add the melted butter. Hopefully it's fully cooled. And then we'll be ready to use our waffle iron. It's going to take a couple of folds to get all that egg white worked in. As you can see, we're already getting a nice batter. And the one last tip I want to give you, now my particular waffle iron has 6 levels of heat settings. I found 5 works best for me. But another technique that I think is important is letting your batter not go on super cold. It's okay to let it sit out a little bit, get it kind of room temperature, and then put it on the iron, because otherwise you're just cooling your iron off. And that was the last ingredient, the melted butter. So I'm going to work that all in. When I bring you back, I'll have the camera repositioned over the waffle iron, and we'll do our first waffle. Now, first one's probably not going to come out perfect. The waffle iron always needs to heat up the first time. I'm going to use a good non-stick spray, and I think we have the excellent makings of a waffle. Stay tuned, guys. Okay, I'm back. Again, I've got my waffle iron preheated. We heard in the earlier clip the alarm going off indicating it has reached its correct temperature. I've also put a non-stick spray on there. Each waffle iron is different. I've used mine for a while, so about 3/4 of a cup fills it up. I unfortunately don't have that. I've got a half a cup. So I'm going to use my half a cup and then just kind of eyeball it. Put some more in there. You don't want to overfill. It starts oozing out the side. And then you close it, flip it. Now this is not the peanut butter infused one. I have mixed a batch of that up, but I didn't want to do that on the first go around. That's just some non-cooked spray on there. In case the peanut butter one doesn't work out, or this waffle doesn't work out, I don't want to waste the peanut butter, because the first one sometimes can not always work out. This steam is a good indication when it stops steaming that it's done. My waffle iron will alert me when it's done, but sometimes I let it go a little bit longer if there's still a lot of steam, because it indicates it's still cooking. I'm excited to decorate these, and I'm excited to see what the peanut butter will do. I'm worried the peanut butter will just melt and kind of ooze out the sides, but I did kind of work it into the batter in a separate dish. Again, I didn't want to ruin the entire amount of batter, and let's see how it goes. We're getting a nice amount of steam. I grabbed a fork to take it out of the iron. You never want to try to touch it with your hand. So I'll bring it back in when this baby dings. Okay, so our timer just went off. I'm flipping it back over. You can see there's still a lot of steam, so I'm just giving it a few more seconds. Kind of letting the steam clear. But I think this first one's actually going to come out. Yeah, it's pretty good. I could have used a little bit more batter. We do have a few a few holes, but I'm gonna try the peanut butter one next, add a little bit more batter. But overall, this first waffle is crisp, it's firm, it's beautiful, it's got great color, great smell, so I think my batter is a success. Here goes nothing. Here's the peanut butter infused batch going onto the iron. Let's see how it works. Definitely made the batter a little thicker. It's a little harder to get out of the bowl, but trying to get it on there. So I can close the iron. Smells great. Okay. Now, speaking of infusing your waffles, so the other day when I first was working on this batter, I slow cooked some bacon on a parchment-lined cookie sheet in the oven. Really crisped up the bacon, sprinkled some brown sugar on it, crumbled it, and worked that into the waffle on the iron. Flipped it, so you actually got bites of bacon inside your waffle. It was excellent. You can sprinkle a couple of small chocolate chips in your waffles. There's many things you can do. It's the first time I'm trying peanut butter. You see I overfilled it a little bit. We're oozing out the side, but not too bad. I was worried we'd get a lot larger melt from the peanut butter, so I'll bring you back in when I'm decorating. I'm going to do some special jam. I've got some homemade blueberry jam, some bananas on top, and some powdered sugar. It's going to be a meal fit for the king, baby. We're taking care of business right here in Stuffy's kitchen. It came out great, guys. The peanut butter infused waffle, homemade blueberry preserves, a little bit of banana for the king, and of course, it's on a gold-plated piece of china. Man, this is for you, E. You'd be 85 today, baby. Oh, Stuffy's about to get sifty. Some fresh powdered sugar. Oh yeah. Meal fit for the king. This is Stuffy signing off.